Hi folks, this is Applegeek, and welcome to my 250 subscribers special. I've got something really special for you guys here today. The most requested video that I've had from anybody commenting on my videos for me to do is Remembrance, and I am finally doing it. The reason I have not done it yet is because I have already seen it before I even started doing reactions. And so I didn't feel like I could really do it justice for in terms of a reaction. Even if I said it wasn't a blind reaction, it never hits you the same way twice, even though it's still an awesome video. So I thought about it and I decided, hey, it'd be awesome to have somebody in here and watch this with me. But it's still not going to be a blind reaction. In fact, it's quite the opposite, and I think you'll understand why once I get my special guest of the day in here. Come on in, man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man himself, the creator of Remembrance, Argodaemon. Hey, welcome, man. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
All right, so yeah, I want to pick your brain a little bit about this video. Just brief bit here. How long have you been doing source filmmaker stuff, SFM videos?
Almost 3 years.
3 years. Man, is it all self-taught and everything?
And before SFM, I had never done 3D animation in my life. So
Wow. Man, you've come a heck of a long way in just the 3 years. This was actually the first SFM video that I ever even saw. Because I'm pretty new to the fandom and such. It just came up with my suggested videos like, huh, what's this? So I was just like blown away by like what the possibilities were with that. Just in terms of this video specifically, what was the inspiration or the reason for making this story?
because like I've been doing this for 3 years. The idea actually came about 4 months after I started doing SFM. So even before this came out, it had been almost 2 years in the works. But because like the map and everything I rage quit making it. And so when people say this is way off of this is a question that's been asked a long time ago. Yeah, but when I started it, it was actually a new question about the immortality and whatever. But the idea kind of came about because the song I heard that and I just that song was an emotional connection. And I kind of had this idea that just kind of evolved in my head, and the entire thing kind of just formed over like a month. And I'm like, I want to do this, and then I didn't. And so then like a year later, I started. I'm like, you know what, I'm actually going to finish this. So, but I wanted to make something that was kind of had an emotional connection to that question of immortality. That was big at the time, but I think it's still big now.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm sure once we got to that point, everybody's like, what does this mean now? I mean, it's such a out of left field thing. I think at the end of season three, it's like, wow, where are they going with this? I think that was actually originally supposed to be the end of the show, the end of season three, but then they ended up, they kept on going with it. So I heard Emma Larson say something about that, I think. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like, oh, now we made her princess. Well, now what do we do? So that was interesting. But yeah, it's always been a question. And I know there's different schools of thought on it. Is she mortal? Isn't she? Yeah, is an interesting question. How long did it actually take to make this particular video?
I spent a month on it a couple years ago making the map and trying to get the resources together. And I had some custom like the big door and the flower pots. There's a couple of custom models that were made, and then it just kind of fell off to the earth. And some of the stuff that happens in there, I felt I didn't have the ability to make yet. I wasn't at a level yet that made it. So I just said whatever. I put it aside, and then I did a vote for a while and said, "What do you want me to finish?" That one came up, and once I started working on it again, it took about 8 to 9 months of work after that. And it's not even the animation that took the longest time, it was the visuals that was trying to make it pretty. So
Yeah. I think I actually heard you mention something about that recently on one of your streams. You said it wasn't so much the animation, it was the lighting effects that you were working on in that one.
Because it wasn't like I made a map that had set lighting where I could just throw everything in and everything was fine. Every shot has the lighting changed to fit that shot because you might look great from one side, but you change the angle and suddenly it just doesn't look the same. So you have to tweak it and tweak it and tweak it to make it look good from that angle. Then the angle changes again. So it was a lot of time playing. Plus, then you change something down the road, which I did once, and then I go through all the shots and fix it all up across there. So that's what took the most time. But I wanted to make sure it looked pretty.
Sure, well, and it definitely did it that. So, and did I remember you saying at one point that you actually made most of that on your Twitch streams?
Yes,
Most of the video?
the map wasn't.
Oh, okay.
The most of the video, because on the streams is a time where I can work without getting distracted by everything else around me.
Sure.
So I can focus just on videos, and so yeah, the streams so the recording director up there, you can watch me work on the majority of it. And but then when it starts getting down to crunch time, like towards the end of the video, then I spent a bunch of time off the stream finishing it up. And I always try to find something to put in the video that was not on the stream, because otherwise everybody that watches the stream just gets to see everything. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You want to have some surprises, I suppose. Yeah, yeah. So, well, yeah. Let's go ahead and actually watch through the video here, and then I got a few more things I'd like to ask you about on that. So, all right, I may want to scooch over just a bit to the other direction.
This way.
Yeah, just so I can put the video up in the center there. So, all right. Oh, just about hit the wrong button there. Remembrance. Watch that starting now. And I'll have to tell you too what went through my mind the first time I saw this.
So sad.
I mean, you can always see those rays of light. It's just
that was one of the additions I had to go back and put in, and
wow,
I don't regret it at all.
That was awesome. Right there is where it first hit me.
This part was made 2 days before I left for the con. This was a last minute addition.
Oh, really?
This I didn't make on the stream. I had to fill in this whole time, and I thought I needed something to make an emotional connection early on and help tell the story. And I felt that when I made this, I was like, wow, that did the job.
Yeah, it did.
I had a fight. I think I changed the cameras on this 4, 5, 6 times because I just could not figure out a way to make this transition to show the tour. And eventually that worked out, and I think I did the part. I still think that my favorite part of anything, of all the camera shots, was this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
This look right there, it was just like, I could have just stopped it there and been good.
Yeah. Oh, that look right there just hurts. You can see the pain on Celestia's face.
I was going off the thought of an immortal can live forever, so anybody that's not immortal is always destined to leave them. Mm-hmm. So somebody losing that to them would be like losing them there. And so I was trying to show that.
Yeah. Wow. That door opened the first time, my mind was just blown.
It was one of the iconic shots I wanted to do. I was like, I have to make it. This is even through the door.
I still get chills watching this.
I've gotten to the point now where I do too again, and it's actually kind of nice.
But yeah, I gotta remember to touch on the music when we're done with this.
All those pictures, other than this one, I made that one. All the others, I ran a contest, and there were so many that were submitted. The winners went in that shot, and all the rest went at the end, because it was just like 30 that were submitted in total.
Wow.
So I wanted to help other people get a little chance to help out.
Oh yeah, it was a major collab effort. That's awesome. it was at this point I'm just like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, I know, and that's why I thought the pacing, so that at this point have it kind of ask that question, so then it diverts
And
your-
just bam, like what is she doing? Oh,
she exploded.
and then that, I'm just like, oh my word, is she doing what I think she's doing?
Yeah, and I was trying to be subtle with it, and constantly little hints. So at first it was just cracks, then cracks in movement. So at this point was when people were saying, "Is she?" And then that's what gave the answer.
That shot. And of course, everybody thought, "Is she dead?"
That's why I made sure she was breathing heavy, so you could tell.
Yeah, I think I actually missed the breathing the first time, but then it quickly got where her eyes opened again. So
yeah.
And Pinky.
To me, if you put too much sad, it can be a negative. So I needed to add in just those little laughs, and so that's what that added a little laugh there, a little bit of heartfelt at the end, and then before going.
Well, you can't have Pinky and not have that.
Yes. Pinky's hard because I can't put her in any video seriously. I have to have something goofy with her. And so that's what I had to do here. And even at the end of the credits, when I have her pop down, it was like one reactor said, it's ending on a light note. And it's so that it makes, I don't want to have people end up with a sad face. I want them to end up with a smile. So I have something goofy at the end. Originally, she was going to be sneaking between the little, like through the shots, sneaking through the frames beneath them. But I thought that would have pulled away from the details there. So those are all the people that actually submitted the pictures.
Yeah, I mean, see all those frames, like, man, it just, you look at that, it's like I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it at the time. I was an emotional wreck, but thinking about it later, it's like, man, the work it took to do all that.
It took
just
2 weeks just to put that together.
Yeah.
Like, to get all the lighting set, because there was dozens of lights to get that whole thing work.
Yeah, Pinky popping down her little ninja outfit at the end. That was that was awesome. Again, I totally missed that the first time. I was just when I first. So I just got to tell you, when I first watched this, like I said, I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what SFM was. It just popped on my YouTube. I was like, oh, what's this? Okay, I'll watch this. And it started with the question, what if you had to choose, would you choose immortality or your friends? And it didn't register like what that was about. And then okay, Celestia and Twilight walking through, okay, and then you had like the ghost images of the rest of the main six. At that exact moment, it hit me like, oh my word, this is like distant future. Twilight's immortal. Her friends are dead. Like, oh my word. I just right then I was already just like, I felt horrible, but not horrible, but I was just like shaking, just like, no, what is this like, and like, well, where are we going with this? And the vault, I'm like, what's with the vault? Has all their cutie marks on it. It opens up and it's just like this massive like monument to those five. I'm just like, again, mind blown on this. And then she's walking around like, okay, so we've got the monument, where are we going? And then the spell, and they busted out of there. And at that point, like I said, the ending credits hardly even registered because I was literally sobbing at that point. Like for up to a minute afterwards, I was just, everything was sinking in, and I was just sobbing. It just, but no, back to the points here. Because I do have some questions. I've seen some different opinions on what the ending really meant and such. First of all, was there any particular timeline you had in mind, like how far in the future this was from the events of the actual show?
Well, the actual beginning with the text part, that was the original plan, was to actually have like a minute and a half bit where it was going to have Celestia and Twilight talking, and to have it implied, and have a time frame implied, and to actually have them chatting, and to have her to show her emotional state instead of having the video kind of show it, to actually have it said in a way, at least implied. But once I got the main video done, it was like, to do that would have been months more. And I'm like, no, I wanted to move on to something else. So I got to the point in that project where I kind of got what I needed out of it. Because I always like to learn something, and I learned what I could. Doing that would have been too far. So like outside of that element hall, I had a path, trees. I had this huge garden set up, and then I never used it. It was
Mm.
because I wanted it was just never needed. I used parts of it to do so you had background and through the windows. But other than that, I just um, so it was originally going to be implied that was like the original idea. This has changed, but it was originally going to be like about I think it was 200 years what I was thinking in my head, and it was
Okay.
supposed to be that that she brought them back to life. But I've heard a
Okay.
lot.
I was getting to that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've the opinions of people saying that she died to see her friends in the afterlife. I almost
Hmm.
like that idea more. So, and it just shows that sometimes it's I'm not always right on things. I think that would have been a nice way because like people brought up the point of it could be considered greedy for her to do something like that,
Hmm.
and I actually like the idea of her going to the afterlife too. But I also like the idea of anybody can take it any direction they want. I like having the questions because anybody
Hmm.
can make the answers. They
Sure.
shouldn't
Sure.
if I make the answers, all it does is lock it in place, and people feel it's complete. But sometimes having an open question is almost more exciting and more fun than having a closed one.
Sure, sure. And yeah, I mean, I've only really heard the two theories. Of course, my thought initially when watching it was, again, as an emotional wreck, but it's like to me, she brought him back to life. That's what it looked like. But I mean, from one sense, it didn't really make any sense. Like, so what? Their bodies were encased in the statues. That was a little weird. But then again, magic, anything goes.
Well,
So.
the way I saw it, because people were like saying, "Oh, they were encased in stone. They were
Mhm.
frozen for when needed in an emergency. They were, they
Sure.
had all these ways of going about it." And the way I feel is that's thinking too much into it,
Sure.
because some people want those little details to fill in all these little gaps in like the story.
Hmm.
But the way I always felt it was is the way that the story progressed on its own. That was all that was needed. I mean,
Sure.
if you want to fill in your own gaps and create your own storyline for it, that's great. But I think that that's like with reading book, like one of the reasons I like reading books is you can imagine everything in your head, and I think with video you lose that. So I like to keep it
Mm,
open so that other people can interpret it their own way. So you
sure,
can make your
sure.
own story from something.
Well, and I think, it's speaking to the point where, you were going to have some dialogue to kind of set things up at the beginning. I think I actually I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have liked to have seen that, but this video I feel like is perfect the way it is because by taking the dialogue out of it, it is more like telling a story. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of almost the reverse of reading a book because with reading the book, you're given the thoughts and the dialogue, but you're trying to envision all the scenery and everything and faces and such in your mind. This was kind of the reverse, where you've got all the visual elements, but you're missing the thoughts and dialogue, and you're kind of envisioning that on your own based on what you're seeing.
Mhm.
So that was really kind of an ingenious way to do that. I feel like.
I was trying to do it where it felt like you were going from one question getting an answer, and then but the answer gave you another question. So at the beginning, it's like, what are they doing? And then it's
Hmm.
like, oh, the friends are dead. Where are they going? Oh, there's this
Yeah.
big door. What's behind the door? And it was trying to take these stepping stones so
Sure.
that you were constantly going up a staircase of figuring out what was happening, so that at the top of it, suddenly everything collided together and you realized what was happening just as it was happening.
Hmm.
So and I that was what I was hoping for is that within 2 to 3 seconds of the
Hmm.
pinnacle to have that be the realization point. So
Yeah.
and I had so trying to time everything for it because it's like a roller coaster. It's when you get to the top
Yeah.
and then you just take your straight down. So and I was hoping to do that and I was glad that it actually did work out that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, my initial thought was that she brought him back to life, which I think is where a lot of people went with that. But I just and I heard the other theory. It's like, man, I don't like that. Like she, effectively committed suicide to rejoin her friends. Give it the mortality. It's like I don't like the idea of her having to do that. But it does make sense. Like I said, that look on Celestia's face, it was just so painful. I was like, yeah, I mean, realize she's about to lose her faithful student. I mean, at that point, she is probably much more than just a student. She was like an equal,
Yeah.
almost like a sister, if anything.
Well, that
And
there's
and she was going to lose her, and because she knew what Twilight was about to do, and also, I got to thinking. You mentioned the greedy part, and it's like, how to put this in the words? If Twilight were to resurrect all her friends, I mean, yeah, it's awesome. They can all be together. But then my mind starts going and thinking, you know, what kind of a wreck is Applejack going to be like, because her whole family is dead and gone, or at least they may be descendants, but
Mm-hmm.
the family that she knew is all gone. Pinky, her family is gone, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's almost unrealistic to try and bring them back from the dead into a world that's now completely
Yep.
foreign to them.
And
So
that's one of the things. And actually, for some reason, that never came to me until like halfway through the video. And then I'm like, oh, I am kind of like screwing her friends over. But when I thought about it, it's still like you're feeling like you're looking into it too much. The point of the video isn't to say she brought them back, but it's to show the emotional connection that she had to them, or like to show the lengths that somebody would go to. I mean, because forever is a long time. It's an immense amount of time. It is no time, and it's to say
mhm,
somebody's immortal and then were to give that up just to have a finite. I mean, the difference between finite and infinite is immense, and to
mhm.
give up all of that just to have that little bit more.
Yeah.
And I felt that that was a powerful thing, and
Oh,
that's what I wanted to go
absolutely.
with.
Absolutely. I said and I know I've talked to people that said they're just like, oh well, it happened. Like it was okay. Twilight gave up her wings to get her friends back. Whoop de doo. Like it didn't resonate with them, and and that's fine. I mean, not everybody's going to be affected by the same thing the same way. But so for me, it was just the fact that I'm so new to the fandom. I only got into this last summer, and I just was watching my way through the show on Netflix and whatever. So I didn't have necessarily the strong emotions in terms of the events of all the season openers and finales. I
Mhm.
mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I cannot talk. When she got her wings, turning into princess, like my mind was blown. I mean, I was sitting there with my jaw just hitting the table, like what just happened here. But listen, and I was just hurriedly going on to season 4 and stuff. I didn't really have the time to stop and let that sink in and think what the meaning of that long term would be. So that's when I saw this video. It just hit me hard because the realization hit. I'm like, oh man, what? And putting myself in that situation, like if that were me, what would I choose? Like what would you? That's the whole premise of the video. Is like, what would you do?
Well, the purpose of the question
Mhm.
was to give, like when I said it went from question to answer, was to give you the initial question.
Oh sure.
It was, and people took it as like an actual question to themselves. It was actually,
Oh.
what it was more of a question of if you were her, what would you do?
Mhm.
Because without that context, if I were to just started it as it was,
Mhm.
there would have been a lot of confusion as to what direction I was going. There was too much
Sure.
open, but by giving that question at the beginning, I created a narrow space to work from,
Mhm.
and it helped answer the questions as you went. So I mean, that was so quickly thrown at the in the beginning. I actually hate that beginning. Like I hate it. Like I threw it together just in like a day or two because I just needed something, and I felt like I had a good video, but nothing to help start it. And I didn't
Mhm.
want to go through that month's process of trying to get that figured out. So I just said, "Here's some text, good enough."
I I thought it was perfect for
Yeah,
whatever that's worth.
yeah.
But it
Oh, God, because sometimes
yeah.
it's not what I see as something as being read is noise, and it's trying to assume what other people may like. And so when I did it, I'm like, I don't really like it, but it'll get its job done. And if other people are okay with it, then that's great.
Sure, sure. Um, oh yeah, I want to touch on the music. I mean, I for one immediately recognize both of the songs because I'm a big fan of Thomas Bergerson.
Hmm.
Two Steps from Hell. I had the albums the songs were on. So and I see that you're a fan of that music too.
Oh
You've got
God,
it on
yes.
your Twitch streams and stuff. But you made a comment earlier that the song actually gave you the idea for the
Yeah,
video.
it's
It's interesting.
a lot of what I do is the songs and give me the inspiration to make something is because I listen to a lot of epic music. I listen to like the 5 hour mixes whenever. That's 90% of what I listen to, and I owned the CD for that one from a long time ago. And
Hmm.
Remember Me was probably my favorite song. I used to listen on repeat. This is years because that song's pretty
Hmm.
old now, and I had heard the song not long after I got in the fandom, and this idea came into it. So I listened on repeat a whole bunch, and I just start running it through my head. And so I'm not taking a video idea and making it fit to the song. I'm taking the song and and I'm bolding everything around every note and everything. And so I actually have for one of the guys that did the custom models for me, I have a script that I wrote, like whatever, and it just has the times. And I just said in some parts of it, this kind of happens. I don't know, but it doesn't matter because I want to get to this point. And and so like the shot with the exploding windows, that exact shot with every camera was the original idea for that.
Hmm.
But I took the song and I found a way to mold something around it. And because to me, by doing that, like having footsteps and having scenes cut and having the emotions play at different parts of the song, if you can meld the song with the video instead of just having the song on top of the video,
Hmm.
it gets you so much more engaged.
Oh yeah.
And that was so. And but like anything, almost everything I've done, I never go and make a video and find a song to fit it. I always find a song and then have a video to fit it.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that just made this, resonates from an emotional point is just how well the scene fit the music and everything. I mean, it was just perfect. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, build that huge swell at the end, and then the windows blow out. I mean, that was just like over the top, man. I mean, that was just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you do that with all your projects. That's a really great way to come around it, I think, because that type of music, I mean, that epic music, that's one of the things I like about it so much. It paints pictures in your head
Yeah.
of scenes and like battles and situations and whatever. Yeah, it's very emotional type of music.
And I'm not the only one. I mean, everybody does that. Anybody has music and they go and they start playing it through their head. It's like reading a book but with audio. And it's like you're telling a story
Sure.
in your head. And I'm glad that I'm able to sometimes get that out of your head. The problem is like when you're like, oh, this is an amazing idea, and then 9 months later you finally see it. I kind of hate that gap,
Yeah.
but I think it's great to be able to do that, be able to take something like that and explode it out. Not because everybody has that. I think
Yeah.
it's just nobody has or not everybody has the ability to get it out of their head.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that's so awesome that you're able to do that. I mean, and I'm really glad, you said that it was put on hold and people requested you finishing it. I'm sure so many people out there are glad you did because
Mhm.
this is a masterpiece, man. I mean, it really is. It said you premiered it actually at BronyCon last year,
Yes, last BronyCon. Yep, it was.
2015. Yeah.
Yep, I rendered the entire video out in 1080 because it was faster, just for the con, and then after the con, I had to go and re-render the whole thing out in 4K. But I had a leg injury, so that was delayed by like a
Oh.
month and a half. So because I was like couch ridden, so I finally got to go finish that, do all the editing I need to. Some of the effects are different, some of the lighting is a little different. I went and changed because the BronyCon was like I have 3 days, I gotta get this done. And it's not 3D isn't exactly like you can say, oh, I just finished it in code. No, you have to render it. It took 2 weeks of rendering at 1080. So it was, I mean, I have to use my computer in between. So like I'm sitting towards the end of the video and I'm like, okay, I gotta finish all this part so I can start rendering that and finish this little part. So I'm sitting there in segments every night, and then I'd wake up in the morning, start a different one, have that run all day, and I'm looking at my like watch for 2 weeks. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, if I go and I get this done on this day, and I get this done on this day, crunch time is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, you need like a whole data center just for rendering your stuff, man.
I have a whole actually when I start getting on the crunch time, I have a whole day dedicated to determining my schedule. Because I have to say at this point I need this done, at this point I need this done, at this day I have to start recoding, at this day this because like one of the other videos I had that I showed at Everfree last year, I finished and encoded the video at 12:30 in the morning and my flight was in 7 hours. So I just because I determine my schedule and I say okay, I have 2 days of free time, and then I kind of ate those up, and then like to the end I'm like so yeah, I hate crunch time, but it's always worth it in the end. Going
Wow.
and seeing the like after the panel I had. The people come up and the emotional attachment they had to the stuff. Because to me, when you work on something for that long, like
Hmm.
9 months, you can kind of see the emotional part to it, but you're still burnt out on looking at it. That to you, there's no more emotional attachment.
Yeah.
And so when I watched it fully, when it was fully done, I'm like, yay! That was like
Yep.
there was no attachment into it anymore. And then when I went
Hmm.
to the con and people are coming up to this, I was confused because to me I had the connection gone. So I was just playing. I'm like, here's a video, and then there was all these people that were just like, oh, dude, like one guy like had his grandpa die, and it's all these connections, and it's like. Then I went and watched it
Hmm.
again afterwards, and then now
It,
that I
it
have that
it
idea
hits you.
then I can
Yeah.
look at it, I'm like, okay, I can see where they're coming from now. but it was just it was so hard to like I had this emotional detachment for the longest time until now where it's been a while and I don't watch it. Now I'm
Yeah.
starting to get to the point, so I'm not seeing like, oh yeah, that shot and Celestia's like doing something in the background. Because I always
Yeah.
throw something
Yeah.
goofy background. I think one shot I have her smoking. Um, no, that was chemistry. She's her face isn't shown, so she's smoking in the shot. It was in the
Oh, okay.
render. You just
Okay.
can't see it. So I mean, it's stuff like that. So I see that stuff in my head, and but there's always I'm glad to be able to go back and look at that like that now. So
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's similar effect to I hear about movie stars and stuff who like they never movie or TV stars, but they never go watch their own movies and TV that they're on because all they wouldn't really enjoy it for the story it is. They're just like they're going through. It's like, okay, yeah, I remember doing that in that scene or saying that, and this was what was going on behind the scenes. It's hard to really enjoy it for the story that it actually was because you're burnt out on all the behind the scenes
yeah,
stuff.
you aren't seeing it from the angle of in front of the monitor. You're seeing it from the angle of where you
Yeah.
were standing,
Yeah.
and you're seeing the characters not in their character but as actors, and that's with this. That's a lot of it too. Or I can see how the editors run. Any error that pops up in there, like Remembrance alone has like 5 or 6 errors still in it that nobody really notices, but I notice them. So whenever those shots come up, I'm just staring at the error.
Oh man.
And
Yep. Yep.
so I've told people before, I'm like, you don't want me to tell you where they are because otherwise you'll watch it and that's the only thing you can see.
We're probably gonna have some people hunting for those now.
Yeah, every video has errors,
Oh,
but
man.
I've learned after a while that you can't make anything perfect.
Oh,
So it's
sure.
eventually like when I had the render, I noticed some of them. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, I'm good enough. I'm done.
Well, it's probably a lot less of the errors than we saw in the early seasons of MLP. I mean,
But even though, well,
yeah.
actually, probably similar because the early seasons, the errors that were there were so quick and unnoticeable. And it's the same thing. Is sometimes with these, there's little flickers of lights in the background that might catch your eye, but you'll never really pay attention to because of an error. And
Sure.
whatever, and nobody's gonna pay attention to it, and they just kind of skips over unless you start going frame by frame, which is what
Sure.
people like to do too.
Yeah. Yeah. I would never want to do that personally because then I'm just like it detracts from what it is. I want to enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's the video as a whole, not the
So
frame by frame that matters.
yeah. Yeah. All right. So, anything coming up then for we have BronyCon coming up this July. You got any big projects in the works for that?
Because I have Everfree, MLP, MSP, and BronyCon, and then probably Ciderfest in November. Um, I haven't really done much. Fallout 4 is a very addicting game,
I've heard that.
so I haven't done too much. Instead, I did a Fallout turntable not long ago.
Oh yeah, that was quite well received from the
Yes.
looks of it.
But other than that, I started stuff for Everfree and stuff. But the problem is with 3 cons, it's hard to go and say I'm gonna make 3 unique videos because that's a lot. Normally, there used to be gaps, but now they're all so close.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I have stuff in the works, but nothing that's really that far along.
Okay.
It's still like just mishmash of stuff. So and there's always I have so many other things going on in the background too, and then I'm so distracted by other things. So thankfully Fallout 4 has slipped off, but other things take their place.
Sure.
So
Sure. So, well, we'll keep an eye out, and of course, you got everybody can watch your Twitch streams.
yes,
And those are twice a week.
I run them right now Tuesdays and Fridays starting at 6 Central, which is midnight GMT, and then Tuesdays they end a little shorter because I have to work the next day. Fridays I run later, but they have spoilers. If you don't want to be ruined on the videos that I make, probably not the best thing to do. But I am coming up on my 2-year streaming anniversary, and I usually advertise that one as spoiler free.
Okay.
So and then that one I usually put on YouTube so that everybody can know to come and that whatever. And then usually I just whatever people want me to do, I do. So the last time it turned out really weird. So, but it's recommended. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Sure. Yeah. So I just started catching some bits of those recently, and it just blows me away what you're able to do. I mean, I can see the amount of time it takes, and it is insane. But just I mean, what you're able to accomplish in that time is just phenomenal. So, wow. All right, and then so yeah, you can catch me there, and then if you just want to plug your Patreon a little bit. Or...
Oh, I have. Really, just search my name. It's unique, so it's everywhere. I have a Patreon. that you could, I only made it because people wanted to help out, but there's really no goals or rewards other than I put works in progress videos. So you can see stuff before they're out. And sometimes I release videos on there early, but there's no real rewards. It's just if you want to help out, but it's nothing that I want to put too much effort into. I make videos and people like those, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. So
Sure.
but I'm also on Twitter and on DeviantArt and probably other places I can't remember right now. But yeah, and I mean the main things are DeviantArt is where I post pictures. So there's pictures from Remembrance, like the one shot that I mentioned, of like the face looking up.
Mhm.
I put that as a wallpaper on there that you can download, and a lot of videos I make wallpapers for. So if people like this good high detail shots and they want it as a wallpaper, you can go and get them there.
Sure, sure.
So,
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very, very much for all that, sharing all that great information. It's awesome having you here. Thank you again very
no problem.
much. And thanks again to all my viewers out there. Thanks a lot for getting me to 250. It's been quite a ride so far, and I look forward to keep going, and especially looking forward to season 6 whenever that starts. So, um, yeah, thanks again for watching, guys, and we will catch you again next time. Later.